Hello everyone, today is Monday, March 31st, and we are looking at the Day 3 War Room briefing for Wednesday's possible severe weather. This particular one we've been watching for a while. It's been on our board for, I would say, at least a week as potentially being a significant weather event, and now that we're past Sunday, it's time to take a deeper dive into what's actually potentially going on this week. Alright, so the first thing we're going to take a look at is just a general overview of the SPC Outlook. This is currently what they have for Wednesday. This was posted earlier today, and as of now we have a very, very large enhanced risk across much of the Mississippi River Valley and Ohio Valley. Probabilistic, we're looking at a 30% hatched risk for hatched meaning intense, stronger, severe weather. Once we get to day 2, we will have more specifics in terms of hazards, but this is what they've posted right as of now. We'll take a look at the discussion here in a little bit and see what sort of things they're actually calling for us to expect. Now, the CSU Outlook is kind of an AI equivalent to this. It's AI powered and kind of serves as a substitute for the National Weather Service with machine learning. So CSU MLP is showing that we have up to a 60% risk, and actually as of the 12Z update, we are up to a 64% hatch risk of severe weather. Now we can look into specifics with this that we don't have yet with the SPC because it's a machine learning model. As of now, latest update, we have a hatched 15% risk area that's nearly up to 30% risk across much of Arkansas, western Tennessee, northwest Mississippi, etc., etc. And the poor boot heel of Missouri is in the sights of this thing once again. However, the strongest tornadoes are expected to remain within this hatched area, but cannot just be limited to that either. We are also looking at a small area of higher hail probability and damaging wind, pretty much as always comes with these systems. So that's pretty much what we're looking at right now. I expect it to change most likely by tomorrow, and I will be posting updates on that as well. Now, let's take a look forward at analog guidance for Wednesday in particular. So as of now, the SIP's analog guidance with the NAM run is showing very high probabilities of at least seeing one tornado reported within this area. We are all the way up to about like 60% up there as of now. 57% is about the highest that we have. That is still a very high signal for tornado analogs. If we go ahead and take a couple of steps up here, we're at 5 severe reports of tornadoes. Not quite so much. It's not that much there. It is present, but we are looking at what is likely going to be, if there are tornadoes, they are going to be isolated. And that is not saying that it could be a non-significant weather event. These tornadoes have the potential to be very strong. But we are not looking at least according to analogs, anything particularly prolific in terms of tornado production. Wind reports are also higher probabilities with the analog guidance, and hail reports also are up there, although they may happen earlier in the day as storms start to fire off along the western boundary. Any severe, 5 of any severe is extremely high in this area of the Arkansas-Missouri border, so we're going to want to be watching that very closely. That's kind of where a boundary is expected to set itself up and firestorms right along it. Now, if we take any more steps up here, we're going to get to significant tornado, which is definitely on the board and shockingly up to 30% probabilities. This is an EF2, potentially EF3 or higher, within 100 kilometers of a grid point. Same goes for a long track tornado, so the models are seeing something historically in this area that's suggesting we may get some stronger tornadoes in there. Now, 5 significant tornadoes and 5 long track tornadoes are on the board about as much as 5 regular tornadoes. So as again, this is a very high ceiling, non-prolific potential outbreak. So we'll keep an eye on that as we get closer in. Moving on, we're going to go ahead and take a look at models. So this is the GFS National Reflectivity Simulated Model. So we are looking at, going forward, I'm just going to reload it to make sure it's actually loaded properly. Going forward, we are going to see storms start to initiate probably around early afternoon, maybe around 10 a.m. on Wednesday, and start to really strengthen as we move into the later afternoon and evening hours. It is expected to just kind of set up this line here, which is going to stay and set itself up as a boundary constantly firing off storms for the next several days as we proceed all the way into Sunday, and even a few left in the wee hours of Monday. Most likely going to be Sunday afternoon though. That's generally what our reflectivity may look like. Now, if we want to go ahead and do the supercell composite just to see kind of what severe potential is here, Tuesday actually has a pretty significant severe potential. There is going to be a cap, so it's going to be hard for storms to form, but if they do, they will be explosive. Moving on to Wednesday, we have this wide area of supercell potential. Now, we'll get into it in a minute, but we're going to be looking at an environment that could produce a strong tornado pretty much anywhere in here, but it's dependent on whether supercells actually form in the warm sector or not. Otherwise, this may end up also just being a linear mode that produces some QLCS spin-ups, some hail, and damaging winds. As we move through the rest of Wednesday, that kind of fades out, and oh look, it's back for Thursday. I'm particularly interested in Thursday. I think it has potential to have some very well organized supercells, but we'll keep updating on that once we are closer in. Now, moving on, we're going to take a look at the NAM model, which is a little more detailed, short-range forecast, which is showing very, very similar to the GFS as of now. With supercell composite, got it moving up to around a 27, which is extremely high in this area. Now, if we take a look, let's scroll in just a little bit closer and take a detailed look at the Ohio Valley area. Now, the significant tornado parameter for this area is expected to spike dramatically in a couple of spots across Arkansas. This kind of boundary here is where we expect the line or the more linear mode to set up. Interestingly enough, though, it's probably not going to advance east across the state like it typically does, and rather it's going to stay stationary and eventually become oriented in kind of this east-west mode, where it's going to stay here for the next several days. We go ahead and take a sounding from, we'll call this a cherry-picked sounding, from the peak area of tornado probability. We've got a pretty scary sounding here. Photograph is very, very favorable for tornadoes and supercells, potentially hail as well. We do have some streamwise vorticity, lots and lots of low-level jet to feed these things, so lots of low-level shear potentially spinning up tornadoes. Wind barbs look good. They've got some good angle at the point that they meet. And we have plenty of cape as well. Now, this is not the most extreme cape that we've seen, and it's been higher in previous model forecasts, so there's a little bit of a downtrend, which is a good thing. However, there is still plenty there for storms, and this lower cape may actually be more favorable for tornadoes. We may not see this messy upscale growth into this big blob of convection where tornatic supercells are able to choke themselves off and to keep each other from actually being able to latch onto that surface flow and get some good tornadoes on the ground. The only limiting factor that I can see here is that the lower level lapse rates aren't fantastic, around 5.9 Celsius per kilometer. Usually we see stuff more along the range that we're seeing here, around 7 or so. 7 plus to 8 is generally the accepted level that is concerning. So that's kind of the one thing that may be getting in the way here. LCL cloud layer is also going to be fairly low from what I've seen, which is going to produce likely very photogenic tornadoes, plenty of condensation at ground level, plenty of humidity as well. Now, let's go and look at surface-based cape for the day, which is going to be our storm fuel and what's called instability, effectively. Again, not extremely high. This area is kind of my area for watching in northeast Arkansas, just west of Memphis. Gonna have plenty of instability setting itself up here, and if any storms are able to erupt in this area, they will be well displaced from the line and able to be a dominant, classic supercell. Again, this is about the best cape that we have for the day. As it advances, it kind of falls off as you might expect, but interestingly enough, doesn't ever go away. We may be seeing at a long-term severe outbreak of multiple days of this just kind of happening constantly, so we'll want to keep an eye on that. Looking at surface and precipitation, we are also not going to be wanting in the moisture department as well. We are seeing an absolutely incredible swath of 70s to 71 dew points moving into the area. So again, this will be a very moist environment. We will not be lacking moisture whatsoever for these storms. So visibility and structure will not be a concern. However, we could see overconvection with this, but it's too early to tell that for certain. Now, As of now, the NAM 3km is the only high-resolution model that we have headed into this time zone for the moment. So as of the 12 Zulu run, we are looking at storm initiation kind of carrying over from Tuesday's system, probably around like 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock, moving into the afternoon. And as we get really fired off here around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, we're going to see storms kind of fire in a semi-discrete sort of line that's just moving to the north-northeast around here. We also may see some storms up here in Illinois and blowing early in the morning across Ohio and Indiana. These could present a tornado threat, although it will likely be very short-lived. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. Surface-based CAPE on the NAM as well. Go ahead and take a look at that. This is essentially a higher resolution model of the previous one we were looking at. You can see that surge just climbing up here, and this entire area is going to be prime environment for supercells to develop. Again, if anything is able to get through, we could see a pretty serious system. This is also, again, a very, very favorable photograph. You can see kind of the end of the cap there. We call the cap, or a temperature inversion, a layer of warm air above the surface that kind of prevents other warm air from rising. This white line here is simulating a parcel of warm air or a weather balloon going up, tracking the temperature of that. And so long as that red line doesn't cross over the white line, it's able to climb. So we'll want to keep a very close eye on that. The thing is, cap might sound bad, but it's actually really, really good for supercells if it erodes at the right time, because it prevents early convection or over convection of storms firing too early when they haven't wound up enough, so to speak. And they're able to be extremely strong and draw from a very, very unstable environment when they do go and break through that cap. As of now, that's pretty much all that we know. So let's take a step back and we're going to look at the SPC discussion, detailing with the synopsis, detailing exactly what they're expecting to see. So there is a possibility of morning convection, which is one of our fail modes. If I take a look at the list that I have written down here, the fail modes that we have are over convection, so we get convection in the morning that cools the surface and doesn't allow for enough surface heating. Any sort of overcast skies will also do that as well. Another fail mode that we could see is just excessive forcing, which again produces overconvection. Too many storms in a small area, we don't get all that much. Low-level lapse rates aren't fantastic, but I don't think that's going to be that much of a limiting factor because we have plenty of parameters to overcome that. Aside from that, there's really not much. A linear mode could prevent discrete supercells, but that's likely to hold off and kind of stay off to the west and the north, so I don't think that's going to be a problem either. Lapse rates are much better further in the southeast in the warm sector, so we may see some storms pop up there as well. There is a strong capping inversion expected in the morning, like I mentioned, that may prevent early storm development, which could be a very, very good thing for tornadoes, not so good for the residents that live there. We have extremely high moisture. It's going to be very warm. We're going to have plenty of convective available potential energy, or CAPE, which is that instability I was talking about. And also we have high storm relative helicity and inflow, which could produce rain-wrapped tornadoes, but also produces the chance for very strong tornadoes. Now, looking back specifically at the SPC outlook, we have a couple of areas here that are concerning. They've already looked at giving this a moderate, higher severe probabilities across parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley for the potential for multiple long-lived significant supercells. They don't have enough confidence in storm mode to issue a moderate yet. I think we're going to get that probably tomorrow. Very strong forcing and ascent will overspread a large, unstable warm sector in the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Mississippi Valley. That's kind of what we were looking at for a very significant tornado potential. Aside from that, it's pretty much all we've got for the moment. We will get some higher resolution models with the HRRR coming in here later this evening. We don't have that yet as of the time of this recording. If those change something significant, I will make another update, but as of now, it looks like it is probably not going to be necessary. All right, so this is my personal outlook. It's very similar to the Storm Prediction Center. This is weighted towards tornadoes, but kind of constitutes all threats as well. We just have a massive area. Kind of have a hatched risk further off a little to the east where we could see stronger storms, but I think there's a higher likelihood that we see some down here in southwest Arkansas as well, given the higher CAPE values in that area. That's pretty much what I'm predicting. We'll see how it verifies. It's very similar to the Storm Prediction Center, so honestly, I would go with them because they're more reliable regardless. So that's about all we've got right now. I will try and make an update tomorrow. I may not be able to, so we may just do a day 1 morning update. This also could be the last update if nothing significant changes on models. So keep a very close eye on things. If you live in this area, make sure you have your weather plans prepped and ready. I'm sure you do. It's been very busy recently anyway. To summarize, this is a very high but fairly conditional risk on anything forming in the warm sector. If it doesn't, we'll likely just see some big hailers and a linear mode. It's not going to progress like normal. It's just going to kind of sit there. So I would say expect more severe weather Thursday, a little less, but still potential on Friday, and generally decreasing till we get to Sunday and everything blows out. I think Sunday is the last day that we may see anything out of this particular system. It is spring, so keep an eye out. As we get closer into this, anything can happen. This has been your War Room Day 3 update. Stay tuned.